All right, everybody, we're hopping right in. Fuck my intro. We're just doing it live, guys. We're doing this one live. It's good to see everybody here in the chat today. And yeah, I'm excited to do this one. This is one that's been actually really overdue. It's been a while since I've had my good friends over there at Future Conflict on the channel, and we've got the whole gang tonight. I mean, not just one, not just two, but many of the Future Conflict team today, and Tactical Wisdom. So let me introduce everybody here today. First of all, I want to bring in the man who is no longer in Koreastan and is now looking like he has the rays of God shining upon him, and that is my friend Scott.
I see. I'm catching the rays. I'm catching the rays. Yes, it's daytime here in sunny Izmir, and so I get the effects.
So we have like a 2 hour, like 2 or 3 hours where like you get this weird time where it's able to work out for Korea, for Korea, Turkey, and the United States. So I appreciate you making time, Scott, and making it happen again.
It's been too long, brother. It's been too long.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff going on. So we really want to get through it and get through some of this, crazy military news, some of these lawsuits, and also just find out what the fuck is going on out there. And whenever when I know what the fuck's going on out there, whether it's in Ukraine or on the streets, I know I can talk to Joe Dolio. Joe.
Hey, good morning.
Thank you.
Although I don't know, it's a good morning. It's far too early for me to tell that yet.
It's not that bad, like 50. We got 75 people in the chat that have at least made it here today. So I mean, that's
though, you're kind of getting my beauty sleep, and this does not just happen. I clearly need it. Need it.
Yeah.
And we got Stan, the Virginia gentleman. Good to have you on the channel as well, Stan. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, it's good to see you. It's like I said, I think once again, I think it's been a while. I think the last time I had everybody on was the charity stream, and also we had the guy behind the scenes watcher as well. Watcher, how's it going?
Hey, thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you. It's always great to have you as well to keep it moving in the back end, and also to be very well prepared with the videos and memes and everything else. So guys, today I've got a mixture of things for us to go through, whether it's things about active duty, veterans, current conflicts, domestic conflicts, international. We're going to get a little bit of a sampler platter here today. But if you guys have anything to throw in there, anybody on the panel at any point, just as always, feel free to jump there. But I think it's appropriate that we start with Black Rifle Coffee Company, because I think that's one that I think they've earned like the top slot here today to start with, because they've got not just one, but two lawsuits pending against them right now. So right now they've got two lawsuits. One is very vanilla. You've got the one here that I'll show you guys an article on, which is them failing to pay royalties. So this came out on the 18th of February, that they were failing to pay royalties. They were being cheapskates. They weren't paying up. This was something that came out then. However, not failing to pay royalties for their ready-to-drink beverages was not the only breach of contract claim they were hit with. Literally within, I don't know, I'm going to look at the date on this complaint here. I believe it's within 2 weeks, if I am correct. And I'm going to confirm that real quick. Yes. So within 2 weeks, they were hit with this second complaint, which is in the Judicial District for Salt Lake County between Brandon Roper and Black Rifle Coffee Company. This is also for breach of contract and unjust enrichment, but it's of a wildly different nature. But before we get into this, I just want to know what what your perspective is on Black Rifle before this, right? Because they're a special ops operated business. They put that on as a moniker. I want to know you guys' perspective on this company and your perception prior to these lawsuits.
Well, we've actually, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Andrew, but we've actually had like a direct confrontation with this company before.
I did not know that.
We did.
A direct beef.
Yeah. So here's the deal. A friend of ours,
let's hear it.
A friend of ours has this company that he's been running for quite a long time called Forward Observer. And you may remember not long ago.
I do remember this now. Yes.
Yeah. You may remember that not long ago they decided to rebrand their idiotically originally named Coffee or Die magazine. And we're looking for something to try and identify it as more military. And they decided that Forward Observer would be an excellent name for that. So
I mean,
and
they slavishly copied it all the way down to the font style and web address. I mean, it was sad.
Right.
It was pretty sad looking. So we here at the council, me particularly, took the opportunity to spearhead a meme campaign where we memed Black Rifle Coffee into the absolute dirt to the point where they had to block all of us, and then they within 2 days they reversed course and picked another utterly ridiculous name.
Do you have any like good memes that are on tap from that era?
I might. Let me go grab some.
I will say, like from most people out there, like for example, this guy Amuse, who is one of the ones that shared the link to the lawsuit, but he mentioned right away this talking about this sexual harassment that's going on there. Although this isn't a sexual harassment case, the sexual harassment lawsuit, the claims we'll see involve sexual harassment, but he said right here, this is part of the reason I've told people to avoid Black Rifle Coffee. They quietly funded Biden and stiffed Kyle Rittenhouse after raising money off his name. I actually just learned about those two things.
Yeah. So the whole Biden thing is several of their officers, I think, in the company, or at least employees, were registered as donators to Act Blue. Is that the big super PAC for? And so the Act Blue showed up, and and I don't know that the key members like Matt Bess and Evan Hafner or whatever his name is, I don't know if those guys were donating, but man, the things that I didn't like personally was this whole kind of distancing from Kyle Rittenhouse and just basically tarnishing, Kyle Rittenhouse's name when Kyle was just a kid wearing he thinks their coffee is cool because it's got guns in it, and so he's wearing the t-shirt, and they're basically slandering the guy.
And remember, that's what turned me off about him. It's not that Kyle said anything about him. It's that on the day he got released from jail, he was wearing their t-shirt, and they went off about it. And it was an innocent action by Kyle. He wasn't claiming anything about them or their support. Right. Just wearing a t-shirt he liked, and they went off and threatened legal action and all that. And I just left a bad taste in my mouth with them.
Remember that it wasn't just Kyle.
If it happened to leave a bad taste in your mouth, it's a bad thing, apparently.
Well, that is the thing with Black Rifle Coffee. You're completely correct. But
as you'll see.
So here's the deal, though. They didn't just malign Kyle. They also very specifically maligned anyone who supported him. It's
And let's be clear, as we saw in the actual court case with the facts, that is probably the clearest cut self-defense case that I've seen in a long while.
Absolutely.
If that was not self-defense, we don't have a Second Amendment right.
And then they carried it a bit further in their attempt to defend their position on Kyle Rittenhouse. They somewhat maligned all gun owners who were not veterans by claiming that
their militias,
our opinion is that only trained veterans should handle them. It's just like it got worse, as if there was a way to make it worse. Them suckers went out and found it. Great job, boys. Great job.
Joe, I've seen that take a lot recently, actually. That's one that I've seen kind of surfacing up again, that, the picture of the guy tossing his AR into the ocean and saying, or allegedly was holding it out over the ocean, saying these weapons are only for the government, and
that dude was actually joking. That dude was
that was a troll picture.
Yeah, that's actually a friend of mine, and he's it was a joke about boating accidents, and he got literally half the internet with it. So
that was good, though. That was good.
It was good.
Yeah. You guys,
the trolls are getting way too good. Go ahead, Sam.
No, I was just going to say I've read the Second Amendment. It makes no qualification as to the type of weapon or the number of weapons that one can legally hold under the Second Amendment. So I don't. It's a tough case. It's a take when they can find guys who will take that position. It's the left likes it a lot, but it's irrelevant from an intellectual and legal perspective. So we shall see.
I mean, what?
We shall see. And, Black Rifle Coffee is sort of like if Lindsey Graham and Eye Patch McCain got together and said, "Let's start a coffee company." Okay, I mean that's kind of what you got. Okay, you got shenanigans in the conference room. You've got bad takes on the coffee and on the politics, and so we just ignore it to the extent we can. We just ignore it. It's irrelevant.
And is that the best way to deal with those folks that don't engage? You don't engage with them. All right, because you see the people.
It's a tar baby. I mean, it's just you get dirty by engaging with it. So.
So I just want to take so Hunch, our good friend Hunch the Dirty Roofer, in the comments there says he says the push for vets should only own guns is the scary side of the service guarantee citizenship argument, referencing the recent article that I just published to our locals. Go check our locals out if you want to read that about service guarantee citizenship. But the problem there is that service guarantee citizenship only restricts the franchise, not the civil liberties of people. And in fact, in order for it to work, the non-voting members of society's civil liberties have to be jealously defended by those who have the franchise. So, I mean, if anything, you're guaranteeing, like, even more so the right to keep and bear arms and the freedom of speech and things like that for the non-voting people, so that they feel secure that the citizens won't actually vote away their rights. So anyway, that's one of the ways that argument would work. But
the Starship Troopers argument,
that's right.
I am proud to say that when I was sent some Black Rifle Coffee Company for a potential, endorsement thing, I gave it to my father and I didn't touch it. So
I'm happy to say that I don't drink coffee. So. I don't have a dog in that fight.
You're a teabag man.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. I teabag frequently.
But because I do see, like, I mean, from my standpoint, particularly as a civilian, as someone who's never served, whatever, I feel like anytime I see somebody like an Eye Patch McCain or like Black Rifle Coffee Company, the second I come at them, there'll be a certain segment that'll be like, look, you can't say shit, right? Like you have no right.
You didn't serve, bro.
Right, especially when I'm telling them, oh, you got a bad take on guns. They're like, they've handled more guns than you've ever handled in your life. And I'm like, all right, bro. Like,
irrelevant.
Well, if you remember, when they first began, they got well known because of Matt Best's funny videos about veterans and veteran life, right? And what's funny is when you now see their attitude about private citizen gun ownership, it makes those videos be seen in a different light, right? Now it wasn't that he was being funny. Now he was literally mocking everyone else, and that's just my opinion on it. So.
Sorry, but
that is probably their next blend right there.
The Malcolm Nance blend just really fucking kills me right now.
I mean,
it was a good era. It was a good era in memes. I did a good job on these ones for sure.
Oh God, that's really good. That's really good one.
And I don't think that's incorrect to say that these guys are some of those kind of right wing NAFO type dudes, right? I mean, these are the kind of people that you say, they're right in line with Eye Patch McCain saying, "Oh, we need to get in there and punch the Russians in the nose," and all this kind of stuff.
Well, that's what their Coffee or Die magazine was doing, right? Nolan was over there literally stirring the pot, making crazy videos
right in the very beginning. He was right before the war started with those
have a little bit of a sketchy factual basis, right? I mean, it's troubling
and legal basis.
Yeah, definitely legal basis. I mean, that's I mean, the whole thing is sitting on a sketchy legal basis at this point, particularly with the level of support. Although the unfortunate thing is, it seems it's still continuing from both parties. It seems like we support, the country of Ukraine more than the state of Ohio. Let's say. Let's just throw that one out there. So I'm going to jump right into the facts of this case, because this one to me was absolutely nuts, and I just want to get you guys' thoughts on it. This is a very interesting one. So this is by this guy Brandon Roper. I was not familiar with him. I don't know whether he was anybody before this. That's so, that aside, against really chiefly Evan Hafer.
Wait.
I hope
it's a roper and a heifer. Interesting.
Well,
done.
Heifer was definitely trying to be the bull in this.
It almost seems like this was destined.
Yeah. So Roper is a male. He resides in Salt Lake City, state of Utah. By the way, he is a Mormon. This is a material fact of the case here. So Mr. Roper starts working at Black Rifle Coffee Company in 2016 in July, in the middle of the month. By the end of the month, he's participating in this handgun competition at the Wasatch Wing and Clay Range. He wins, and after that, it's never the same for him. It goes downhill. Hafer gets angry. He's salty because, he had this excellent shooting record as a member of the Special Forces, which he is now, trying to, hold over into his civilian competition days. And after that, the incidents start. The first one here in August, Roper has to strip down to his underwear to participate in a marketing video where his image was digitally altered to look like he was naked. Now, listen, I know AI is very good, but this is 2016. This is before AI, so that's a lot of manual editing on that image. Then you get it just gets weirder and weirder from here. What did you say, Stan?
Or something else. Manual handling.
Yeah.
Well,
we could say it was fluffed. They fluffed the image in one way or another.
Oh God.
Classic,
Well, it only gets worse here because in the video he is asked to pretend to do sit-ups with various other men who are allegedly having a hot dog party. The video is meant to poke fun at homosexuals, and Mr. Roper participated in the video against his will and as a condition of his employment. Now, I haven't seen this video, but
I haven't either. Yeah,
but certainly I think this would be kind of on the edge in terms of modern day marketing, particularly if they're. And once again, I'm not assuming any of these things are true or not. I'm just saying this is the complaint, right? These allegations could be bullshit, but if that is true, just that alone would have been a gross violation of his terms of employment. And mind you, this is a breach of a contract. This is literally a contractual claim. This is not sexual harassment. So I know this is going to seem like, oh, this is sexual harassment. And if he was a woman, if he identified as a woman, I am very certain they would have filed the sexual harassment case, much like Sidney Watson is against the Blaze right now. But in fact, he's just going factually for what he's owed under his contract. So let's continue here. Mr. Hafer, once again, this is the head of Black Rifle Company, allegedly calls Mr. Roper into his office while several people are there. The head of Black Rifle Coffee Company strips naked, looks over at Mr. Roper as if he's expecting something. Mr. Roper ignores it and keeps working. And then this is the kicker. This is the one that everyone's quoting here right now. Several days later, Mr. Roper and Mr. Hafer were working alone in a conference room when Mr. Hafer turned to Mr. Roper and said, "Why don't we close the door and butt fuck the shit out of each other?" Which Mr. Roper rejected and continued in awkward tension.
I think it would have been fine if he hadn't been naked.
I have something to add to this.
Sure.
Oh, Lord.
By the way, this video was the I don't know if you knew that, Watcher, but that video by Samwell was a lawsuit between Samwell for what in the butt against South Park.
Yeah, South Park.
Oh,
yeah, because South Park did it first.
Yeah. No.
South Park did it first, didn't they?
South Park did it after, but it's parody. South Park is parody.
Parody.
So
Yeah.
So South Park won.
Don't ever get in a fight with South Park. Just don't do it. Yeah. I mean, there's no way to win against South.
Look. If the Scientologists weren't going to win that one, you've got no fighting chance.
Exactly. You're not. Go home, have yourself a cup of Black Rifle coffee, and just just stay away because those guys will just pound the shit out of you. sort of like
so
Mr. Happy.
Are you guys telling me this is not normal spec ops behavior? This is not normal, this is not normally going down.
No, I think it is totally normal spec ops behavior.
It's totally, it's actually, right.
Actually, that's
the homoerotic thing.
Whoa, I didn't know.
But hold on real quick before we move on. If you are going to enjoy a good black rifle, if I may recommend a fast mover blend.
Andrew, you of course may be familiar.
I think Evan has discovered the story of.
Go ahead, Stan.
Yeah. Oh.
Go ahead, Scott. Go ahead.
No. If
Scott,
I guess maybe yes. The delay might be on Stan. So no, Andrew, you're familiar with fraternity life, right?
No, I was actually never in a frat because I thought they would do gay shit like this.
But we had one
band college, for the Elephant Walk.
Yeah, well, right, and so you were familiar with the fraternity life from not from experience it, but from being in college. Well, being in special operations or being in like these types of units, a lot of times is very much like being in a fraternity, and you see some of this kind of like over the top homoerotic kind of trolling of each other. Nobody's gay, but we're gonna like make fun of everybody that they're gay. Now Joe's right on the money. Like if he had just said that. That's that jocular behavior, but the stripping naked, that's taking it to a whole different level.
I'll be honest. If he had stayed clothed, it would have actually been protected activity under the Civil Rights Act. LGBTQ protection. So,
yes, his LGBTQ card could be thrown at that point. You kind of lose it when you take your clothes off.
Yeah, that's a big one. But no, you guys had an immediate reaction when I say it's special forces behavior. Like, no, this is going to be par for the course. I'm just imagining Dan Crenshaw, getting into these shenanigans.
I had it explained to me pretty well by my corporal when we had
when
we had special forces people running through the range, and he would say, you have to be a special kind of batshit insane to get into one of these units in the first place, and then you stick them all and you leave them all alone together for long periods of time, and weird shit happens.
It walked down into the berthing bays on a marine amphibious ship, like an LPD, on like week 3 of a cruise. You'll be scarred for life.
Yeah. So facts.
Yeah, I really like, I mean, at one point I kind of got to give it like, all right, let's not be so sensitive about behavior, right? I give us a wide berth, right? To just fuck around and to not have workplaces that are so restricted, because I'm seeing lawsuits, for example, in the Blaze lawsuit, where essentially, the way it's laid out, just talking about male issues or making any comments about gender in general is totally off limits. I mean, these types of things would separate men and women, but even in an all male workplace, I'm like, all right, there's going to be some jokes, there's going to be some other shit, but the naked thing, that I think, that definitely pushes it over the edge, as well as asking him to strip. I think that was pretty bad, as well. Now, I will say there's another one which I haven't heard. And maybe you guys have heard this one. I've been in some pretty salty places and dealt with a lot of lawyers, but so he's a Mormon, right? So by approximately early September 2016, Mr. Hafer, that's the CEO once again, started calling Mr. Roper Mountain Jew as a derogatory term because he was one of the few Latter-day Saints in the office. Mr. Hafer started being very mean and hateful towards Mr. Roper in front of other employees. I don't know Evan Hafer's religion, but Mountain Jew is a new one for me. That's definitely a
common derogatory term for Mormons.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't. I wouldn't know. Watcher. What do you know about that?
Well, okay. So having been raised in that faith, I've heard that one before. It's the one where people are, well, I'll be honest. I went to the South, and at the time I was still part of the faith, and said, hey, I'm Mormon, and people asked me where my horns were. Like legitimately, not ironically. Like it was, it's
that's pretty crazy.
So
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. I don't know. I just want to know whether it was a thing or not. Relations for $5 says weird stuff certainly has changed in the military. My FIL and his boys just put jet fuel in a VW bug and ran it down the Autobahn.
We literally
still happen.
Yeah, the fuel, the bulk fuel trainers literally had to memorize a saying in their main camp. JP8, it's not apple juice. You can't drink it. Don't put it in your car.
That's crazy. So they continue to do some other stuff, which maybe would be permissible or not permissible. I don't know how you guys feel about this. So they ended up going to a lot of strip clubs. So they end up talking here. Here we go. So a large part of the harassment focused on the fact that Mr. Roper had not served in the armed forces. Additionally, there was a focus on things which the other employees had done in the military, which Roper had not done, like sex with multiple women. I don't know why that's exclusive to the military. Engaging in anal sex, frequent strip clubs, and other sexual exploits which are viewed as taboo in the Mormon faith. Interesting take there. So they took him
I was in the military for a significant period of time.
Yeah.
We didn't have anal sex. I'm sorry.
That's not a requirement.
I don't know why that became a military thing. I was not in the Navy, so I don't know.
In the Navy.
There's a whole bunch of extra verses in the Navy that you don't know about.
I'm sure. Fair Frozen 55 says, ask Nick Rekieta. He knows all about the Mountain Jews. He even had one on to talk about her case against the farms. Oh, interesting. Oh, Mexican Iron Man. Shout out. Appreciate you, brother. Huge fan of the Future Conflict channel. Awesome to see them here all morning. Question. Didn't this case get settled? Roper got paid and those guys are all buddy these days. I'm not sure it's settled or not. I have to double check, but I'm pretty sure it's not, although they should.
Brand new.
I think that the documents just kind of came out, but looking at them and looking at the dates, I believe it's settled and that supposedly they are now friends.
So
friends again. But I don't know that they are close. But I believe they are friendly.
I mean, if there is a settlement, then definitely that would be the best way to go for this, and it always is the best way to go for this. I mean, having a lawsuit is never great.
Look, we don't know. Maybe the heifer finally got his Roper. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just these facts. I mean, just getting more crazy. I want to go over a couple of them before we let this one go. When they took him to a strip club, they said it was the first time he ever saw a vagina up close. Mr. Roper is divorced with 5 children. It's like, okay, so
you don't get 5 children from not seeing one. Yeah.
That Mr. Roper is in fact a better shot than Mr. Hafer. If that's you've never seen one. I mean,
he's definitely not firing blanks.
No, that's some marksmanship there, bud. Don't mess with Mr. Roper.
Yeah. Hunch says in the Navy, where 300 singles go out and 150 couples come back to port.
Listen, let me tell you what that comes from. They take a bunch of young men, they call them seamen, and they put them in a long, hard object. I mean, what are you going to do?
Fuck, the Navy is just getting roasted tonight.
Oh, man. As well it should.
Oh, here you go. Here's the other one, too. I don't know if this is normal in the military as well. This is a special operator thing. Matt Best, another owner at BRCC, openly teased Mr. Roper because he had never had anal sex with a woman. This took place in the workplace. I don't know if
that sounds exactly like something a guy like Matt Best would probably say. I mean, Matt Best is a Ranger Regiment guy. Those dudes are like uber frat boy types.
They're soldiers who want to be Marines. That's what Rangers are.
Well, they would argue that, but that being said, for the point of this argument, I won't contest Joe's assertion.
All right. So that's what I got on that. That's what I think on those guys. Look, I mean, when I see a company like to me that is running through all these different problems and having all these different lawsuits, I mean, always if you're running a company, especially a big successful company, you're gonna have a couple frivolous lawsuits. But when I see a large amount of lawsuits or a significant number within a short period of time, red flags start going off. So I think Black Rifle Coffee Company, other than being memed to death by you guys, which I think was the final bullet, but they're clearly done with.
Just to kind of like broaden the aperture on this and to kind of link it to some of the other stuff. If you think about it, their whole reasoning behind like the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff was like, oh, listen, we don't want to be associated with that kind of, bad element. We're trying to, what did they go on the New York Stock Exchange or something like that? And they were doing, articles and things, interviews for the New York Times. And so I think that they are trying to kind of distance themselves from this more jocular kind of frat boy type of behavior so that they can get, big investments and grow and all this kind of stuff. But the problem is that
so you're saying ESG. So you're saying ESG.
Well, less ESG and more old school selling out, right? I mean, that was, in this day and age, what we want are people that are making things like these cultural brands, because that's exactly what they are. They're a cultural brand, right? Mm-hmm. We want them to remain authentic. Brand. Exactly. Yeah. We want them to remain authentic. We want them to continue to be politically incorrect. We want them to, grow on the merits of their stuff. Now, I'll be honest with you, guys that got free coffee from them before I knew anything that I didn't like about them said their free coffee sucked. That they sent, when on deployments and things like that. I appreciate them sending the guys coffee, but it would sit around undrank because the guys didn't like it.
Now, speaking of not liking it, I think this next one is gonna. Well, it's gonna shock some people. If you have children, you might want to put them to bed. If you have pets, you definitely want to hide them for this one.
Yeah.
We're going there. We're talking about it. We got to talk about
this. This is gonna get rough.
We got to talk about this story, guys.
I think you're barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah. This is definitely gonna be rough.
This dog won't hunt. I can tell you that.
He won't hunt. But apparently, this dog is ready to smash.
I was gonna say, evidently, he does fly. So
it's a 18 plus, fiercely protective Belgian Malinois who proudly serves. So this story went around, and I knew I had to talk to you guys about this because holy fucking shit. I honestly didn't believe it at first until I confirmed it with several different sources that this was actually real. This was not like a cosplay or like something that was, that was off base. This was actually something that was happening on base by this gentleman here, Colonel Brian Donnelly, now retired, of Indo-PACOM. What does that stand for, by the way? Scott, what is that?
Indian Pacific Ocean Command.
So are they based in? They're based in Hawaii. Is that one?
Yeah. It used to be PACOM. They just included the Indian Ocean in it.
Got it.
It's like 2/3 of the planet. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, just a small thing, right? Just no big deal, right? There's no conflicts in that area, right? Not at all. It's totally normal, right? Oh, here's what it is.
The first clue is the way he's holding his hands in that photo.
This photo right here?
Who does that?
Oh yeah. No.
Whoa. What is this? Why is this a tell? Are you?
Well, who holds their hands like that?
Nobody.
Do you hold your hands like that? Like literally ever?
No.
He's in a room full of other men trying to flex his muscles and look like something, and it's sad. Actually.
It's the hand tension that's weird.
Yeah. Oh man. So this guy was in uniform. Here he was stationed, from what I understand, in Hawaii, along with his partner, who was, I believe, the CPT. Is that Captain? Dayton Tenney. And these guys, at first I was thinking, okay, this is not happening on base, right? No, it's been pretty much confirmed that these guys were on base, in these bondage outfits, taking photos, right, of themselves while they're literally working, And you can see that. I think this is the one where it really got exposed here. So the guy's in the mask. This is before he's fired. Or sorry, this is right here. You can see in this photo right here, 515 AMOWCC. People said that stands for
the unit right there.
The 501st AMOWCC, which is in Hawaii, and Joint Base PHH in Hawaii, Pearl Harbor.
Is anyone surprised that the Air Force operates in this manner?
Well, I mean, let's.
I mean, it's. I will say this. This is what I'm going to say. One individual cannot determine everybody's. Obviously, it's a large enough group. You're going to get some fucking weirdos, right? But my question is, like, do you think this is a prominent thing? Like, this is happening, to a significant degree? Go ahead, Wyatt.
I fear that we're burying the lead here in a similar manner to the way that that this officer was burying his bone in his subordinates on a regular basis.
In his backyard.
Sad, bro. Yeah. Sad.
Yeah.
You gotta take the analogy all the way home there, Watcher.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
I mean, he was definitely burying his bone. I mean,
some might say you gotta go a certain distance deep. So
that's his partner who they've got some kind of actual relationship. I'm actually talking about it's come out that they were burying bones in the backyard of others in their command chain significantly lower.
Oh, okay. So there was a whole community here that was fostered.
I mean, just the colonel to captain one alone is a big enough disperse. But
right,
go ahead, Stan.
Right. Well, go ahead.
I've got to run, guys. I've got something that's come up, but I just want to say it looks to me like these guys have a future in the FBI.
You're not wrong. Right. You're not wrong.
Stan, did you have anything parting since you've got to? Go ahead.
No, I'll leave it in the hands of my colleagues here. I think they've got this this covered. We do a show called the Privy Council on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. And if you're looking for a little bit of discussion around things that are of interest, mostly focused on, we're trying to look around the corner a bit in terms of what's going to be an issue in 3 to 6 months. Many of the same folks on that show. We are going to be. I do want to talk about this. So if you keep an eye out, we're going to do a special show on quantum computing and the impact of quantum computing on national security and defense, both domestic and overseas. And we've been able to bring in some folks who are executives of one of the leading sort of DoD candidates to be the supplier to the DoD for quantum computing. It's scary as hell. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, because if you think AI is good now, when you stick it on the front end of the capacity of these photon-based quantum computers, buddy, it's a reason why the NSA is it's the reason why the NSA is lined up as customer one once they deliver this stuff. And it's Skynet, it's future crime, it's everything you want to think about from a dystopian perspective. And I just don't think we know enough to know whether or not this is a good thing or a bad thing. And the argument's always, well, if we don't do it, the Chinese will. And that's probably true, but I don't know that it's sufficient given what we've seen in terms of abuses of the Patriot Act and other things of that nature. So we're still trying to work out the final details on that. Keep an eye out, but we'll let you know. And it should be pretty interesting.
Gotcha. So guys, make sure you go over, check out the Privy Council. Also follow the Virginia Gentleman on Twitter. Great follow there. Toss a follow over to him. Great person to follow. Stan, as always, thank you, brother, for joining.
Yep. You guys take care. Bye-bye.
See you, Stan.
See you. All right. So back to the puppy business. So look, I
no wonder Stan left when he did.
Yeah. He's like, this is a good time for me.
I'm out of here.
Hold on. Who's this one in the back? Why does he look like a little bit like Robert E. Lee? But I mean, hearing that it's down the command chain would not surprise me at all. particularly with this guy and some of the statements he meant about grooming other people or leading his pack, right? As a leader, right? It's very, especially within that particular community and with those particular interests, very specific interests.
So the interesting thing here is so let's be honest, as disgusting as we may think the kinks are, this is actually way less about the kinks and more about the whole idea of fraternization.
Yes.
And most people think that fraternization is just, you're having sex with somebody else in your unit. Well, no, it goes way beyond that. Fraternization is the perception of a beneficial, favorable relationship between a subordinate and their leader, right? So
that shit breaks down good order and discipline like nobody's business.
100%, because it's about favorites is what it's all about. Right. And so it goes way beyond sex and things like that. It goes to like two dudes. Let's say a new lieutenant shows up, but he's got a cool Harley, right? Well, the battalion commander is a Harley rider. And all of a sudden they start talking about their Harleys out in the parking lot. So this lieutenant who's brand new, he's totally qualified for the job and everything. All of a sudden now he's got a straight line to the commander of not his commander, but his commander's commander. And so then it becomes this perception of, Lieutenant Smith's always out there talking to the colonel about this, and this, about their motorcycles. I can't even get into the colonel to see him, even if I make an appointment, he's so busy. But he's got 15 minutes every day to sit there and talk to Lieutenant Smith. And so then all of a sudden now that doesn't mean that Lieutenant Smith is getting any job performance benefit out of the relationship. It's just that there is a perception by other people in the chain of command. And then that, it's like Watcher said, that tears down the good order and discipline of the unit, and that's why it's cancer to an organization like a military unit.
My biggest problem is the respect for the uniform issue, right? There are rules and regulations about wearing the uniform, and that's not one of them.
Yeah.
Yep. I just want to toss a second order effect onto what Scott said, because it also it encourages the formation of opposing cliques within the unit as well. Because then you feel like you have to then wield power structures against others in the unit because they're already doing it to you.
Right. And I guess like if once you start forming that, once you get the opposition can be even more, harsh than the original thing. Right. So, the reaction, right, can be even worse than the original cause. Maybe there's only a couple guys in this kink clique, but the reaction to that would sometimes call people out or label people as part of this when they aren't part of this at all. Right. Like, so there's people that could be lumped in with that or accused of being lumped in with that when they're not involved in this.
And remember, these dudes are supposed to be a fighting force. They're supposed to be able to rely on each other in life or death situations at the drop of a hat.
Now here's the flip side, right? Is like you have voluntary social associations that people become members of. So for instance, you got the officer club, and certain people choose to become members of the officer club and hang out there. And there are opportunities potentially in that, right? But that is not in of itself a problematic relationship within the military, right? Another one is like the Masons, right? So you can see a lot of guys on posts that are the Mason members, right? And there's this perception more generally, not specifically, that if you're a Mason, it's like ring knocking, the whole idea of, well, there's another one, right? You went to West Point, you're what's known as a ring knocker, it's like, the boss and Lieutenant Smith are both ring knockers. He's going to get preferential treatment. There's no way to.
Well, there's a good reason for that perception.
No. There is a historic, evidence for that happening. But there's also, there's also reasons why people from a military academy may be successful when guys from like ROTC aren't. And there is as much jealousy on the have-not side that fuels that as there is impropriety on the have. So that kind of goes to that kind of countervailing cultures within, as a reaction to a perceived inappropriate relationship.
Yeah, I like this quote. This is from Legendary Racing in my local. Says, "Commanders are like parents. We all know they have favorites, but you're not supposed to know which one it is."
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's
I mean, we're
actually a
human,
really good
right?
quote.
Factual.
Yeah. You're not supposed to show that level of favoritism.
Well, actually, that relationship is more formalized than you might imagine. Like the name for the officer for most enlisted men is the old man.
There you go. There you go. You have that fraternal, and you know it's not right when the old man is fucking their kid. That's the So I mean, and the point is, you're exactly right. All the points you guys are very valid. I mean, obviously, if your job is to have a safe, effective, and deadly fighting force, and instead of having to perform that, having to better serve towards that goal, you're having to better serve towards somebody's kink that is clearly distracting from the goal at hand, right? So, I mean, that's really like at the root here. It's something I laughed at it first, for sure, but there's really serious implications behind that. And frankly, I just think, to me, I see more and more people disrespecting the uniform, it seems, lately. Maybe it's because of social media, but I don't know if you guys are kind of seeing the same thing. Not just this case in general, but I mean, overall. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that. Just in terms of what Joe brought up,
problems about that ETH girl who's always posting crap.
The psyop girl.
Which psyop girl? Oh,
the side, Luan.
Watcher, you want to pull this? Watcher, you want to pull this? Because
whatever.
Yeah, give me just a moment.
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you. I have a lot less problem with her than I do with this stuff. I mean, part of it is because
but that's because you're a degenerate. So
that's true. That's
well, okay, Joe, how would you feel about AI generated photos? Would you feel differently if it was generated by AI?
Everyone on the council knows my feelings on AI. AI is an abomination. It should be controlled. It's going to cause all kinds of problems, and I don't want that kind of false advertising.
That's true.
False advertising. Right?
That's true.
When it comes down to it, it's like I'm just disappointed it's not the real.
Speaking of false advertising, you're telling me I'm not, when I'm signing up, I'm not getting this?
Yeah.
Well, but here's the thing. This is her personal account, right? This is not an op from the standpoint of like it's official, right? She is a PSYOP soldier. She has decided that she's going to monetize her looks and she's going to trade on her employment in the U.S. military. Now, I have issues with that, generally speaking, but as long as she is within the right and left limits of what is legal to be able to do on social media, whether we like it or not.
Is that legal? Is that within the rules? Like, is that permissible to be posted?
You can have a social media page. You can include information about that you're in the military. You just can't do something like, as a member of the military, I politically think. X.
Right.
But you can post while you're in uniform like that actively, like.
Yeah.
Look, there's a fine line here, right?
Yeah.
Because like if you were trying to specifically try and endorse your business being in uniform, that's one thing. But her business is just the way she looks and taking pictures of herself, right?
And her tits.
So that's it's a different thing entirely. So she's walking a very fine line, but she's on the correct side of it.
Okay. I think Joe thinks that it should be changed, though, I imagine. But
haram is what Joe wants to say.
My problem is the photos inside of vehicles during the duty day.
That's what's correct.
Yeah, it's not.
That's an issue.
It's not good.
So Joe, you're saying that's an issue not because it's against the rules technically, because Watcher's saying that's technically within the bounds of the rules, but you're saying maybe it's endangering the operations, perhaps, or. It just should
my
be.
Problem
maybe
is
personal business and during duty hours is what I think, Joe, you're getting at, right?
Conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Ethics.
Yeah, it's
my problem is I have too many ethics.
Yeah.
Well, look, right? Like it's one thing to like have what we had in Iraq and Afghanistan, which was dudes who had cameras out on patrol with them, but those dudes weren't taking videos specifically thinking, hey, I'm going to make a bunch of money off this when I post it and get sponsorships later. They were taking it in the same, it's like home video. It's documentation. So it's like I said, it's a fine line, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Now, if she is smart, what she does is she makes the first one of these and it gets a little traction and she goes straight to her chain of command, says, hey, listen, I had a lot of fun doing this. This has really kind of gone viral. If you tell me not to do it ever again, I won't do it ever again. But what I would like to do is X. And then she lays out what she wants to do. Hey, I want to document with my tongue in my cheek, life as a PSYOP soldier. And so what that would mean would be like, I want to be able to film myself from time to time doing, my job or whatever. Right. And maybe some of and if she does that, she's covered. She's totally covered, even to what the thing that Joe says, because then she can say, well, my chain of command has endorsed my activities as part of, telling my soldier's story, right?
Yeah, and in fact, like, didn't a similar thing happen back when all those singing competition shows were going around, where the military would give those, they were active duty, but they let them go participate because it reflected well on the military, and so participating in the competition then became their duty assignment.
Right. Well, yeah, she might actually help the recruiting numbers right now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, aren't they looking for anything that'll help? And if people are thinking, okay, if I join the military, I can smash that, which, by the way, we all know that's not a reality, but
for me, it's kind of one more symptom pointing to the degradation of our warfighting ability, right? That we've got time to make TikTok videos in the middle of the duty day, and that no one cares. You can just do what you want. It just, to me, it cheapens the professionalism of the U.S. military. That's my problem.
Let me tack something onto what Joe just said there. We have a war on the horizon with China that is so real that we've got generals who are actually willing to come out and tell the American people about it. It's almost a surety at this point. It's so real and it's so close that if we started training full time, full tilt, as hard as we can, everybody applying themselves all the time, we would barely be able to maybe make a dent in what we need to do, right? But we've got time to make TikTok videos and do dances.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. That's it's pretty bad. And that's really the issue where we're getting here is like there's a lot of things we have to do and we're being distracted constantly. And when I look at the military right now, in their objectives, it's like constantly distraction, rather than, hey, let's focus on the goal. Let's focus on the Straits of Malacca rather than her Straits of right between those titties. Right? Like, that's not what we should be focusing on. We need to be focusing on actually getting people in. And listen, I'm all for it. Marketing, right? If they have to use some sex sells marketing to get recruiting numbers up, but do it in a conscientious way, right? Do it in a targeted way.
If you were a good host, you would transition at this point directly to be all that you can be, which is now like taking off on social media with the Army.
I have not seen
hold
that.
on. Yeah,
I have not seen that. Watcher, please pull that up.
Yeah. So the Army released their first be all that you can be ad in a very long time, and Twitter is kind of going nuts about it.
Let me read these super chats here real quick. BRC will do when I can't produce Folgers. Yeah, I think you can find Folgers everywhere, so you're covered, Wild Red. Renelation says, when your CO says crawl, best to run now. If they're wearing a dog mask, you fucking sprint.
A dog mask and a choker.
You fucking sprint.
Whoa. Careful, that might activate their prey drive.
Oh, no. Oh, the last one here, James S for 10. Thank you so much, James. Said, did Shellback crossing the equator on an LST in the mid-90s past Tailhook was dialed back a bit because we had a harassment incident early in the deployment, but normies would still be scared. Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So let's talk. So Shellback is a very prestigious thing that happens in the Navy, or if you're assigned to a Navy ship
in the naval service.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay, I don't know about this, so explain this to me a little bit. Like,
okay, hold on. Let me find Joe. You start. I'll find us something that we can kind of visual.
Okay.
Okay, if you want to talk about homoerotic, shellback is probably it.
Yeah.
So right, a shellback shellback ceremony is for Navy and Marines the first time that you cross the equator by sea, and we do things like this.
What are they covered in?
Probably lard. From the lard and flour.
Yeah, Crisco. Yeah.
They make them crawl across the deck in their PT shorts while people spray them down with hoses and beat them with the same hoses. There's all kinds of there. Yep, there you have it. And you get an award.
And no rank was
no rank is spared,
right?
Correct. Yeah. Yes, no rank is spared.
No matter how high or how low.
And during the ceremony, the only like deference to rank is just the way they address you, and that you're treated the same as everyone apart from that.
Wow.
Sir, crawl. I have never experienced this, but I am aware of this. The hazing rituals have been a thing in the military for a long time, and honestly, when they're done correctly,
hazing is good. Some hazing is good.
No, they are very effective in building the team and shared kind of thing. Everybody's gone through the same thing. The problem is when one or two people get out of control and abuse the system, and that's when it's no bueno.
Yeah. Oh man.
I saw
shellback is not the same on every ship.
Yeah, I saw a certificate from 1944 the other day from a shellback ceremony.
This is 92, by the way.
Yeah, man.
You know what's funny? A Ukrainian flag there on.
You know what's funny? Looking at 92, it looks like you're almost looking at 1970, right? Like, isn't it kind of crazy? Like, it really seems like it's so fucking long ago.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Well, see, that's just it, right? We don't think about it, but 92 is what, 30 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Fuck, it is 30 years ago. Shit, I know.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh God. That is crazy. Yeah. And the funny thing is that back then at this age, back then in this year, right? There were a lot more people that were in shape, that were not obese. They weren't having the same standards. I bet if you looked at the type of character that's in it, right? Today versus back then, we're injected with at least 200% more soy today than back then.
For the record, this ceremony goes back a few hundred years.
This is the best part. This is you have to kiss.
What? Excuse me?
You have to kiss the cook's belly. Yeah, this part is the same on everywhere. Every ship that happens. Yeah.
So, Joe, tell us about your shellback ceremony.
Oh man,
Joe is among the order of the shellback.
This is what I'll say about my shellback ceremony. It's not gay if it's underway.
Oh fuck, that's bad. That's real bad.
Yeah.
Oh god. All right. So, anyways, now I know about shellback ceremonies.
So here's that ad.
Okay, show me the
guts.
We're gonna get copyright struck by the army.
The American.
No. Hey,
it's public domain.
I would say by definition, anything the army produces is public domain.
That's a very fair point.
Your mission is to close with and destroy the enemy. The last 100 meters of national policy.
Stole that from the Marines.
Be proficient in your job in terms of how to close with and destroy the enemy.
Be all you can be.
Be all that you can be, because there's only one person that's going to do it for you. My time in the 101st is special. Will always be special. Be all you can be.
Actually, I'm sorry. I grabbed the wrong one. This is specifically for the 101st. Looks like.
Oh, okay. That was like a 101st specific one. Yeah.
But this is how they're doing it, right? But then there's also the throwback one. So you need to get the one from Airborne School, the Airborne School guys, the first sergeant.
Right, but look, they stole that from the Marines. The last 100 meters of policy. H. John Poole, U.S. Marine. I'm gonna throw that out there.
I've actually, that actually rung a bell. So thanks for connecting those dots. I've heard that one before. The last 100 meters of policy.
Good quote's a good quote, no matter where you get it from.
Fuck yeah.
By the way, speaking of H. John Poole, if you subscribe to my locals, you're getting some pretty good H. John Poole book reviews. I'm going through his whole catalog. So tacticalwisdom.locals.com.
Yeah, no, that's definitely crazy. I mean, definitely look, I will say this. Look, it's better than the my two mommies recruiting videos. So
it's not. I think it's not a step up from Private Potato.
No.
Wait, are you aware?
Yeah. We've seen that. Yes, you played that one. That is it's only a slight step up.
Oh, come on. It's the best.
Right,
moving on.
So if we want to move on to domestic right now, before we pop over and do do a little bit more international, but I want to do domestic first because I know that's Joe's bailiwick, and I really want to talk about this because it's something I'm learning more about. But I know you guys have been tuned in a little bit more, so maybe you could educate me and I think everybody else about what's going on with what the fuck is going on in DeKalb County, Atlanta, with this Cop City project. I mean, I just saw the videos here where you had these, leftist extremists outside this Atlanta jail for these, 22 or 23 Antifa domestic terror subjects. From what I understand, this Cop City was pretty much just a police and firefighting training center that the city council voted on. And, nothing new here. Cops and firefighters train. And they were protesting that, trying to stop that because it's going to lead to militarization of the police and destroy green space, which I don't know why they give a fuck about that all of a sudden. But Watcher, I don't know if you've got any documents or anything else to kind of give us some background on.
So let's rewind. This started back during the 2020 riots, and it has not ceased. They have been occupying this little area.
This was their own Chaz type deal.
Yeah, and there are activists. Look, they've rotated in from all over the country to this place as kind of like a tour of duty sort of situation. I'm not even exaggerating that. That's how they personally kind of view it when they talk amongst themselves. They rotate in and out. They kind of do trainings there. It's one of the many places that they do all kinds of trainings. And they've gotten to various levels of violence, both with like the local police and just kind of the local community ever since they've been there for almost 3 years now. They claim that they
culminated when they shot at the police 3-4 weeks ago.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago. They tried to ambush the police as the police were coming in to do a regular clearance that they do.
They tried to ambush the police. Are you talking about with firearms? They tried to like
you didn't see this? Okay, I'll pull that.
No. Are we talking about like an old west, like the sheriff, comes in the middle and they pop up and they start fucking shooting at the police? Is that what we're talking about?
Well, a little more, a little more than that, though. I mean, the police showed up. Basically, they were like, "We're going to clear these guys out," right? So they show up in tack gear and everything like that.
They do this regularly, every 3 or 4 months. They come in to do tent clearings, and usually what Antifa does is they grab all their shit that they can and they run to a different part of the forest, and then they come back later.
Mm-hmm.
But this time, as the police approached, they ambushed them from like the right side and got an exchange of gunfire, leading to the death of a forest defender.
Now let's also be clear about this. The area
so-called.
So let's get into that. Let's get into that portion of the claim. They claim to be forest defenders, and that's one of their other things here is that we're defending the forest against being developed. The part of the news there is that the place where this training facility is going on has been logged for over a decade, and there's not much growing on it now.
Well, and as they're defending the forest, they're littering and making it absolutely disgusting in the area in which they're living. So,
imagine 3 years of Antifa filth stacked up.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like those people, if you looked at Chaz or Chop or any of those occupied areas, they became absolute squalor. I mean, I've been to countries that are third world. This drops below third world levels like rapidly. I mean, you were deployed in Somalia, Joe. I mean, some of these places were looking like fucking Somalia to me after a couple of weeks of Antifa control.
Hey man, you haven't lived until you've stepped in a third world sewage ditch.
So
good times.
Yeah, lived with several diseases that I hope they inoculated you against.
Yeah. So I'm trying to find you the video now of so like the cops have not yet released the body cameras of the cops themselves who were being ambushed, but they have released the body cam footage of another squad that was coming up about 50 yards behind them.
Okay.
50 to 100 yards behind them, and the exchange of gunfire that they caught. Give me just a second. I'll have that.
Sure. Yeah, it's insane to think this is happening in our country. I mean, if this was happening and it was replace forest defender with, property defender, and, it's somebody who's, defending against a government intrusion on their private property, they would promptly call in the, they'd probably call in the airstrike within minutes of something like that. Particularly as we saw, and I won't get into too much, but that's going to have to be Rumble exclusive. But especially given what we saw with the J6 footage that's come out and the reaction to that, I just think that, hey, like, especially seeing what was really going on there in video, I just think the reaction would be really disproportionate if it was the other side engaging in that behavior.
So I found the one that I found that's just the ambush footage itself is from NBC, but like the footage is body cam footage, so they don't actually have a claim to it. Are you all right with that? Or
that's fine. Let's do it.
All right, cool. So let me go ahead.
This is for the purpose of legal commentary and intellectual commentary. So we're
Oh, I think this might actually be. Oh no. Okay, so this is a
transformative
that I hadn't seen yet.
Very transformative.
This is the actual shooting.
Like an infantry squad, APD.
It'll be edited enough that it was allowed on NBC. So
got it. This is the officers' camera? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
As they continue their patrol, 4 distinct shots are heard. Listen. And then dozens.
Those guys are just standing there?
They just fucking stand there. Like, is that?
Yeah, these are the dudes who are 50 yards behind, like I was saying.
Okay.
Still.
Officers appear to be confused until they figure out it's not target practice and gunfire is close by. They take cover behind trees. They can't.
It's too late.
It's so over.
they need that cop city to get the proper training, because clearly they don't know what the fuck to do.
Correct.
Clearly.
Hey, you said it, Andrew.
So that was just a couple weeks ago.
This is actually what gave rise to SWAT teams in the 60s and 70s, was cops not knowing how to behave in the wilderness, right? They're fine in the city. Get them in the woods, no idea what to do.
As was proven in the fine documentary Rambo.
Yes.
Very good documentary.
Actually a film crew that followed John Rambo around.
And they didn't help him, the bastards. They just let the sheriff get away with it. Anyhow, no. So if you're unaware, here's what happened more recently, though. That was a couple weeks ago. And then in response, Antifa's done several days of rage, and they've done a big call, and activists have come in from all over the nation, particularly the more violent portion of the activists.
And France and Canada.
Correct. There are a lot of foreign actors that have come
in.
They've
flown into the United States. We're just waving them in. We're saying, why are you coming? I'm Antifa. Just going.
Of note, every one of the people that were arrested as of the day after the event were not from the Atlanta area.
Correct.
So are you surprised?
Mostly out of state. Yeah.
I'm just going to roll various footage of this event, but they charged and stormed the area where the construction is happening. They burned a bunch of construction equipment and lobbed explosives at cops.
The city assets that are
this is disgusting from the police perspective. You're showing after that. Okay, yeah.
Well,
before that, the cops turned and ran.
So. Oh yeah, I thought
the cops protecting this
here we
ran.
Oh, here we go. This is the crowd coming up to the area that they ended up burning that front end loader.
Oh, look, the cops
pause that right there for a second, Watcher.
Yeah,
this right here is the best illustration of why you should get under the trees. Right here.
Yeah, if they had been coming right here, no one would have seen anything.
No one would have seen you. Get under the trees.
Anyway, that is a great illustration, Joe.
It is. It is.
Yeah, moving over
the
open
process
ground.
Of photosynthesis creates heat. Get under the trees.
Moving over open ground for a large variety of reasons should be avoided under all but the most dire of circumstances.
Yeah, if this was an armed drone, you'd have been dead.
So they end up burning this like little front end loader here, forcing these.
Oh, so you see these guys right here? Okay, they're just back off.
Well, it
gets worse. You see cops running and jumping in vehicles and squealing away. It's sad.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
There you go. Oh, gotta run.
Deuces, I'm out of here.
Hurry.
Yeah.
Somebody.
Hurry. The people who weigh 60 pounds apiece are coming.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, but hold on real quick. Can we just say that? Does anybody else get that vibe like that? The last rhino in Jumanji when it comes.
Oh no!
Okay.
Oh, that is good. That is good.
So yeah, they
there's a car that was like charging the side. Is that the cop? Oh, that's a cop fleeing. That's a cop car fleeing.
Correct.
That's the cops trying to get away.
Wow.
That is a sad state of American law enforcement right there.
How many rounds?
And I'll be honest, it's because they don't want to be on the video as the guy who, shot the protester,
somebody over.
Still.
Yeah. Well, and but that's the state of law enforcement is they've been put in that position where they're afraid to, but pretty much property is not going to be protected. I mean, there's zero protection.
Meanwhile, hold up a sign out in front of a judge house being right wing and see what happens to you.
Yeah, exactly. One sign.
Be in Canada and tell a transgender
person
they're not a woman. See what happens to you.
Yeah.
Oh, these guys are my favorite. Well, first of all, I guess maybe not these guys, but cops that just continuously fly down the street.
Close the gate. Nothing. No, open the gate. No, close the gate. No, open the gate again.
This is bad.
Oh, here comes another car. Oh, he's not coming in. Never mind.
But what's the solution, guys? I mean, is the solution to, because here's the problem, like, is the solution to give these blue cities more funding for their police? Is the solution to?
No, I'm going to tell you the solution. You're not going to like it.
Yeah. No,
the solution is
like it, Joe,
the Insurrection Act.
Correct.
You declare this because it is an armed.
Look, they're forming up with their shields here,
and
they're throwing fireworks. Yeah.
So preventing the enforcement of law by force of arms is the definition of insurrection and sedition. You declare it as such. You send in actual troops and you end the problem. Well, that's what has to happen. It's going to be ugly and it's going to be bloody, but it's what has to happen in order to stop this from continuing.
No, I don't have a problem with that. I think that would be justified. There'd be precedent for that.
I mean, they're honestly trying to harm the police here. Yeah.
Like, we did this to veterans demanding to be paid what they were promised back in the day.
I like how he's tried to use the other officer for cover.
What a fucking pussy. I mean, that is.
These guys are just great. Although we there's more yet. Like, my very favorite clip is still yet to come. It's pretty short. And I think it's right after this. It's you can see the well-disciplined organization.
Open the gate. Wait a second. Don't open the gate.
Open the gate again. Open the gate a little bit.
I know you've been trying to lock that for like 7 minutes, but please let me in.
Yeah,
and this poor car is just trying to go to this is a public access road here. So
that guy was like I'm just trying to go to Dollar General and there's a war going on.
Right. You know, as if 2 more cop cars here are going to make much of a difference with this. Man,
they gave up.
Well, I mean, look, factually, I submit that after a couple of these cop cars arrive, they now officially have enough rounds that if they were very well disciplined, this problem could have been taken care of.
Right.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean, I get that with a crowd that large, if there was only 2 cops or something like that there, but I mean, even initially, we saw a pretty significant number. I would say there's probably at least 10 there initially, and then assuming there's at least 1 or 2 in each of those cars, You've got a lot of folks. The mathematical solution is a bunch of 308 depleted uranium tips traveling plus or minus 300 feet a second.
Well, I mean, you don't even got to go that far. Those are expensive. But real quick, this is my favorite. Keep your eye on the rock.
Yeah.
Oh, this is good quality video.
Wait, hold on. Did you spot it? Did you spot it?
Do it again.
We're gonna slow here.
Slow motion replay. The retarded backpacked wonder here.
We go. Now here, right here. This is the subject you need to watch.
Oh,
ready?
No.
Yeah, just follow the trajectory of where that rock goes. Homeboy laid his buddy out on the other side. That guy's like, look at the rock.
Bro.
My favorite clip. It's just the best. Hey, notice you don't see his legs come out the other side.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he doesn't make it through.
Yeah,
he does not make it.
I don't think homeboy made it. Yeah.
Oh, homie, I'm sorry. R.I.P. R.I.P. I mean, this is actual bedlam. I mean, this is pretty wild.
So, speaking of legal stuff, the SPLC covered themselves in glory as they had one of their lawyers get rounded up in the arrest. Now they claim he was just a legal observer, but if I'm an illegal observer to a bank robbery, that's what's known as an accessory,
an accomplice. Yes.
Yeah. And look, I'm all for press,
correct.
But I mean, look, a lawyer has no business being in the thick of it. They can be waiting outside. In fact, they could be waiting with law enforcement, which where they should be for anybody who gets arrested, to promptly process them on the law enforcement side. I think that would be the appropriate place for a lawyer. I do not think it's the appropriate place in the thick of it. But we all know the SPLC is a bunch of hacks. They're pieces of shit. And they've been allowed unfettered ability to label people as hate groups, which is used by government agencies and by lawsuits in order to persecute people who they disagree with politically, because they make their decisions politically.
Right. I mean, if you read some of the FBI indictments, they cite SPLC as evidence that someone is an extremist. And that's ridiculous.
A racist Marxist organization is now, able to wield that kind of power in the United States.
And so I believe at that point they've established them as a part of the government. They're agents of the government. They should be treated like the government, right? And so all those regulations that prevent the government from doing things without due process should apply to the SPLC. Go ahead and watch it. It really pisses me off.
I just want to say, I don't know why we're all hopping to judgment here. I mean, that SPLC lawyer was arrested in traditional lawyer's garb of a black mask and an entirely black uniform jumpsuit with a shield and an IFAC kit. I don't know why.
In his defense, he was told to always wear a black suit. He just didn't know what they meant.
He didn't get the memo. He didn't get the memo.
He thought they meant black bloc.
Oh, shit. By the way, I saw this one earlier. I didn't catch it. What is this private potato you speak of? You got to go search it yourself. Go find that yourself.
Look up private potato recruitment video. That's all you need.
Yeah, just look up private potato recruitment. You'll find it. You'll find it. No, okay. Well, I mean, honestly, Joe, like seriously, I have no problem with saying Insurrection Act. It's not even controversial for me on this one.
That's what
same with Chaz or
I said that's what should happen in Chaz. Yeah.
Yeah, I got no problem with that.
I mean, the other famous insurrection that's going through the media right now. Now we're seeing all this new video coming out. I mean, it was less an insurrection and more of a guided tour by the police. To these,
literally guided
people.
by the police. Yeah,
yeah. I don't know if you've seen like the MAGA shaman or whatever they called him. The Trump shaman or whatever, who he was literally being escorted around by like 9-10 police officers. Inside.
Oh yeah, he was praying with them. With them. I mean, insane, and these guys are the greatest threat ever. Once again, see how much they blew that up. They haven't stopped talking about that since it happened.
Well,
if they represented it for exactly what it was and kept talking about it, well, that'd be one thing. But they're basically saying it's the largest challenge to democracy since the Civil War. The Civil War. I mean,
it's silly, and seriously, right? It was a civil disorder. There were bad things done, but it's not what they painted it to be. I mean, they're acting as if they attempted to overthrow the government, but a locked door stopped them. You know, it's just
it was a protest writ large, and there were at some places riotous, you know, and riots,
vandalism.
Well, look, it's the only insurrection in the world where a heavily armed populace decided to come unarmed to try and overthrow their government. I mean, it's a very very interesting concept.
Oh, but there were 5 people arrested with guns. Those were 5 people arrested with guns in Washington, D.C. They weren't anywhere near the protest.
Yeah, I was going to say at their hotel.
Just remember, homie, we have half the world's guns in the United States. I mean, if we wanted an insurrection
that day, we'd have held an insurrection that day.
America could oblige. Yeah.
You know, I mean, just in case, you know, it's a gun ownership rate of 120.5 per 100. You know, we don't
have any F-15s, so I mean,
or nuclear weapons. So you know, obviously, you know, if we don't have any F-15s or nuclear weapons, I mean,
well, I demand that we close the strategic F-15 and McNuke gap. That's personally my solution to the problem.
Yeah, that makes a hell of a lot of sense. You know, we can't let Yemen sneak up on us. Come on, guys. Or New Caledonia. I mean, we've got to watch out for New Caledonia. All right, so the next thing, and really where I wanted to kind of circle back to was the international segment, because it's been a while and I've been out of it. I just I tune in, I tune out, I hear things I don't, and I wanted to get the band back together for what made us big in the beginning. You know, we really started this thing talking blue and yellow, and I want the boys to get back to rep. I want the yellow headband on Joe. I want the blue leather pig suit.
That's likely to
on
happen.
Scott. I want the fast movers on this one. Yes, guys, I want to talk about Ukraine and what the fuck is going on. What, a year into this conflict, over a year into this renewed conflict? I mean, the latest thing I saw was about the nuclear plant in Zaporizhia or
Zaporizhia.
That's the Zaporizhia. There you go, Zaporizhia. It's losing power. Apparently, it's a big deal. I've heard about Russian counterattacks coming up. So really,
ironically, they're talking about Zaporizhia again today. There was a pretty massive Russian rocket attack last night, and Zaporizhia's offline. There's no way they launched a rocket attack on a nuclear plant. But just for you, I will hold up a Ukrainian Marine Corps patch. Just for you.
Okay, appreciate that.
That's the 1st Naval Infantry Division that actually has been doing some pretty darn good work down around Kherson. Have been since the first days of the war. So, a bunch of dudes.
I have to admonish you for not hitting the ad break. This Ukraine segment is brought to you by Black Rifle Coffee. Black Rifle Coffee. Standby blend. When you need a little chill in your morning.
Make sure.
Let me look at my watch. They're coming from the west.
Generally we sell these packets in packets of 3s.
Yeah,
they do come in 3s. That's correct.
And you can get jokes like this on the Future Conflict and Tactical Wisdom channels.
Right on.
But you guys,
we're amateur comedy, mostly amateur, little bit of comedy. So,
but from a longer term perspective, how do you guys see this playing out? Because I keep hearing and you see endless videos and endless amount of content talking about Russian supplies are depleted, their manpower is depleted, Russia's over, but then you hear Russia's going to counterattack, Russia's going to, come back, they're getting their shit together, Ukraine's losing power. So from a long-term perspective, how do you guys see this playing out going forward now that we know what we know, years later?
Nobody wants to go first.
Scott, I'm leaning on Scott. I'm leaning on Scott.
I'm sorry. I'm distracted by the Adjudicators Academy over in Indiegogo.
Oh, have you not seen my manga?
Danielle sharing the link in the chat is what drew my eye, and I was like, "What is
this?"
Yes,
we'll talk about that later. But answer about Ukraine now. Waifus later.
All right. So yeah, I'm all about the waifus.
I know you are.
So a lot of things have kind of popped up with Ukraine in let's call it the second half of this war, right? Now, we saw the kind of emergence of Wagner as a thing, even back in the early days. And I think we've talked about this a little bit on your channel last time we were all together. But the thing that's really kind of stuck out as something different about this conflict is the nature of Wagner's role in the assault and the essentially the capitulation, which is essentially underway right now, of Bakhmut, which is a major. Well, it's a large town, small city on the current front lines of where Russia is in the Donetsk Oblast in eastern Ukraine, and essentially what you have is a private military entirely, staffed by commercial soldiers, not, mercenaries, essentially, taking this away from a national military. And so the interesting thing that, Wagner doesn't have sophisticated tank battalions and all this kind of stuff. So they've gone back to dumb, blunt, tools, and such as the human wave attack, such as using conscript, basically they are penal volunteers.
So literally penal legions. We're going back to penal legions.
Yeah. And I don't mean legions of dicks. I mean, these are people who come out of prisons.
And in fact, because of the sort of tension that's being created between Wagner
the Russian military,
they're looking at forming actual no shit penal legions, not just penal volunteers.
Yeah. And so this is something that's kind of new in the annals of modern war. And it's gotten a lot of press in recent months, both the kind of the interesting back and forth, but between the head, Wagner is basically financed and run by a guy named Prigozhin, and he has basically called members of the Ministry of Defense, specifically Shoigu, who is he's the Minister of Defense. He's basically called them traitors because they're not giving him and his guys enough ammunition to affect the final capture of Bakhmut. And so, in a unstable power dynamic of an authoritarian dictatorship like what you have in Russia, you have competing interests, right? And these are two separate competing interests. And Shoigu is getting shown up because his vaunted Russian military failed to do certain things, and this private company is going in and doing it on the cheap, and they're being relatively effective in how they're doing. Now, I would think that the penal volunteer legions on the front line are saying, I don't know how effective we're being because we're dying,
right?
In big job lots, but ultimately they're taking ground, and as on the macro level, they're being effective.
Yeah, and I want to clarify because the penal legions are kind of what's interesting about them as a PMC in some ways, but they do actually have really high speed, well equipped guys that are former Spetsnaz and other special forces that are really, really good, that they keep in separate units, and they essentially use them as a cleanup element. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I was just going to kind of outline the tactic, right? So the idea is they'll send the cannon fodder in and basically push against the Ukrainian lines and find where they're weak and where they're strong. And they will bypass the strong points, and they will send their then high speed, elements, this more high end Wagner elements into the areas with sophisticated drones and other techniques in order to kind of exploit successes in those areas. And then they'll use artillery, and Wagner has artillery. Wagner has armored vehicles. Wagner has tanks, but they just don't have that many of them. And they will use their kind of more high-end capacities to essentially identify the strong points and then attack that by fire versus, continuing to throw men into a meat grinder. Is it
an old style of that almost sounds like an old style of tactic, like the meat grinder method, right?
Well, Yeah, I mean, in the Korean conflict, the Chinese were famous for their human body wave attacks. So the idea is basically, mass kicks ass, or quantity has a quality all of its own. There's all kinds of little euphemisms for the benefits of having just a lot of dudes and be able to feed them into the grinder. But ultimately, if you've ever watched that movie Gallipoli, you see what happens in the end to people who just charge into machine gun fire. It doesn't end well for them.
No, not at all.
Well, I mean, that famous quote: "The first man carries the rifle, the second man carries the ammunition." That came from Russia.
That's literally what I was thinking of when I was saying like World War II-esque. I was literally thinking of enemy at the gates, sort of mentality here. Which did happen at a certain period of time. I'm also hearing stuff, and I don't know whether this is true or not, but about like used equipment and used, people are being sent in, and maybe it's these penal legions, right, that are being sent in. You got a vest and it's got like a bullet hole in it, it's.
To be fair,
have you ever seen the beginning of the new version of All Quiet on the Western Front? It begins.
That was a good one.
It begins with them sewing up uniforms with bullet holes in them and then reissuing them to people. So
I was gonna say, well, I mean, if we're gonna be real fair, I have been issued some gear from an IFAC that like had blood stains on it and shit. Like that's that's an issue that is service wide.
I mean, I've never seen anything like that.
Well, that's because you're in the Army and you guys have the tip of the procurement spear.
I would say the Air Force has the tip of the
but just the tip.
But just the tip, yes. Very
because the shaft is reserved for the Navy, right? I mean, that's a Navy thing.
Navy gets the shaft. Yep. We saw that. We already saw that.
Yeah, that's historically accurate.
Yeah, so there's that element of it. The other side of it is we are, if we're looking at like what's changed a year on, it's we're hurtling towards getting involved on a ground level at a breakneck speed.
What would you say the probability, if you had to put odds on us getting involved in a ground level?
Let's be clear, Ukraine itself, probably not great, but Ukraine metastasizing and expanding to cover other theaters and then us getting involved in that's growing every day.
Yeah.
But
that being said, if you think ground branch of the CIA isn't already operating in Ukraine,
they've admitted that they are. They've publicly admitted that they are. So, I mean, shit.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So, but the key, here's the thing, though. If you look at the map 4 or 5 months ago, you will notice that the map hasn't changed a whole lot. So what that means is there's a whole lot of kind of training and husbanding of resources and rebuilding and reconstituting happening behind the front lines. This is one of the reasons why I think Russia allowed Wagner to take such a kind of upfront role with Bakhmut, so they could basically pull some of their conscripts back to train them and reorganize them, because we saw just the failure of the conscripts, and Russian forces in and around Kherson, as they basically lost that entire. They got pushed right out and had to retreat across the Dnieper River. So they hold the south side of that at this point, but the Ukrainians have occupied everything to include the city of Kherson. So, if you look at that, it's kind of stabilized a little bit, but we're already seeing some of these trained and re-equipped forces supposedly being used in the relief of Bakhmut. And now what would make sense is if you were to basically take the pressure off a little bit so you could withdraw. But I think we're seeing some evidence that there may be kind of like a Hitler-esque no retreat order given, because Bakhmut as a symbol is such a powerful thing. And, they've said we're going to fight to the last Ukrainian or whatever for that city or something along those lines. And if they just give it up, then that, really is egg on Zelensky's face. So, but if they do that, they spoil those forces that are ideally being used, being kept in reserve for a counterattack later in the spring when the conditions get a little better. Because as we saw with the beginning of the war last year, we are inbound for the muddy season,
Right.
and the Russians learned what the offensive operations during the muddy season looks like, and it ain't good. There were a lot of Russian tanks that got sucked into the soup, and it wasn't until a Ukrainian tractor came along after the soup dried out that they were able to get them out. So,
Step tractor, what are you doing?
Yeah, I remember that one. I remember that one. That was a good. And you'd think they would have some history, some historical records, that would help with that, right? That would say, you know what, maybe this isn't a great idea. Maybe we shouldn't be doing this during this season. Where are they at with the tanks though? Because that's been a huge thing. Let me just get that at least last part about here. We were waiting on the on the Ukrainian side, send in the Leopard. And we were hearing that the Russians are mining the back.
They've got the first consignment of Leopards, Leopard 2s, and they're training on them. I honestly think if they do it right, you won't see the Leopards for 6 months, but knowing Zelensky and his guys, you'll see the first Leopards show up within the month. I was going to say there are also reports that the first Bradleys are actually already starting to show up
and rolling towards Bakhmut.
We don't know where they're rolling towards. They could be rolling towards.
Yeah, there's a sketchy video where they say that's where they're going, but we don't know.
Exactly right. There's no proof of that. So until we see a Bradley, burning or actually under fire in and around those areas,
and that's going to be
Poland, by the way, okay, or likely Poland, probably.
That's going to be a ultra high value target from a propaganda standpoint.
Wagner has issued public warrants. What would you bounty?
Right?
$5,000 for the first one, and then $5,000 for each one thereafter.
U.S. I should add.
Oh yeah. So I mean, that's going to be worth it, right? I mean, they're going to get that return in in ad revenue real quick. I'm being serious. I mean, this is literally
you're correct. That's the funny part.
The crazy thing is, I mean, if you think about it, like seriously, if they were able to just monetize that through some sort of shell company or whatever, literally even YouTube, whatever else, you're able to literally think about how much ad revenue you can get on things. It is stupid. They'll pay for they could buy out 7 Bradleys for the one they destroy and propaganda value. By the way, let's go on gold. Thank you for the 50 here. Let me get this real quick. Thank you for the good news. Information changing every day. You're staying on top of it. Good job. Good reporting events. That's why I turn to my friends at Future Conflict, because they stay on top of these issues, because I can't cover everything. It's not possible.
Right.
Yeah, but this is a going in itself. So the USA is yelling pronouns. Russia is shooting them in the face. Yeah, I mean,
this is true.
Yeah. There's bigger issues than pronouns here.
But here's the thing, right? The correct answer is somewhere in the middle, because the answer is not pronouns, and it's also not shooting people in the face, right?
Yes.
You got to find something in the middle that respects people's ability to be weird, but doesn't enforce it on anybody else, right? That's the key, and that's not what we have today.
Right. So, guys, I know you have a big show coming up, so I want to give you guys the opportunity here to pimp that out and kind of feature the big show you guys got coming up. If you want to tease it,
Scott, you want to take it, or you want me to take it?
Are we talking about the one that I barely just found out about today? Is that the
correct?
One
yes.
that means you should do it, Watcher.
All right.
You have this dumb habit of sleeping, and while you sleep, we do things.
That's right. You guys are awake when I'm asleep. Shocking.
While Scott was asleep last night, I landed an interview I've been trying to land for 9-10 months. James Lindsay, who is a used to be like IDW type guy, and long ago left that kind of space. In fact, the thing you'll probably best remember him for is he was one of the dudes who was behind those the papers,
studies.
the gender studies papers, where they like the dog
park,
dog parks or rape
parks,
culture and all that kind of
the
stuff.
Grievance studies affair.
Thank you, Grievance studies. He's fantastic. I'm a huge fan of his, and he has been warning people for a very long time that the left is trying to specifically engineer a sort of George Floyd moment around trans people, and it's a huge part of why. You ever stop to question why all of the really heinous, grievous events that are going on about these kids' drag shows, where the very worst stuff is always in states like Texas or Idaho or various very conservative places, and they always have several professional videographers on scene at the same time.
Right.
They're trying to make something happen. And he's going to come on and talk to us specifically about that and how it can best be avoided and what can best be done to combat a bunch of other things as far as the culture war is going on. And he's going to come on our show Wednesday of next week.
Yeah,
awesome.
And one of the other things that I want to bring up with him, because he's done a really good job of linking the current woke culture to old school Marxism, right?
Yes.
And so one of the most effective things that I've been able to do when I talk to people one-on-one is when I'm able to succinctly link woke culture to Marxism. People are like, wait a second, I'm not tracking that has anything to do. I want people to have a better life. I'm not a communist. I was like, but you have to understand that communism on its own failed in America. And what you're having now is essentially communism 2.0, which turned into the feminist movement, turned into all this, gender studies, turned into racial equity. They found the cracks in American society and pushed the exact same thing that they were doing with class warfare in Europe and places like that against us, but using racial inequity and other kind of historical injustices and grievances. And this goes back to the whole idea of the grievance stuff. And so this is the linkage between neo-Marxist thought and where we're at right now. And so I'm really looking forward to, because he can kind of draw a lot of the lines between a lot of the issues we're dealing with and the things that would fracture us as a nation. Let's be honest. We haven't talked about a whole lot of civil war on our channel lately, but it's always in the back of our minds.
Don't go full Tim Pool. Don't go full Tim Pool.
I'll be honest with you. This is one of those areas where Tim Pool is shockingly based on a lot of this stuff, and so you got to give the guy credit when he calls a spade. You got to give him credit.
But I will say he did. The thing is, you can't. For me, the appropriate thing is saying it's going to come versus now. Right now is the moment is a different thing, because you don't want to have a false start on the offense. That's not what you want to have.
I agree, but at the same time, I think people need to realize that when you feel a civil war started, and when historians 20 years from now look back and can identify when a civil war started, are two very different things.
That is very true, Watcher. It'll be like, these are the events that led up to X, right?
Well, the the perfect example is our Civil War, where you've got was it 1860 or whatever is the official start. But if you look at Harper's Ferry and all these kind of John Brown and all these kind of
Harper's Ferry was long before that. Yeah.
Right. All these things happened, kind of in the background,
Kansas, all that stuff. Yeah.
Right. And so you can go back almost to the Mexican, what is it? The Mexican-American War,
right.
When the seeds of the Civil War were being sown. So it's
one more thing about him coming on that I thought you'd appreciate. Joe, you're a man who appreciates a good blade.
Oh yes, I have a good blade right next to me.
You've always got one to hand, right? I think you should ask. When he comes on, if ask him to see his blade. He's got a pretty impressive collection.
I don't share mine. I don't.
Yeah, with other dudes. I mean, come on.
No.
Mine's
You'll
always
enjoy it.
shorter.
He's pretty well known for it. Actually, he posted some pictures of him doing legitimate sword practice, and people
You're gonna wake
people
me,
have given
make
him
me
a hard
go
time
across the
for it.
room and get my sword, aren't you?
Yeah. I am.
By the way, I like this. By the way, Quick said 199. Scott with a nuance. Don't shoot people.
Shocking how that works out, right?
Shocking.
Stay alive with this one weird trick.
Morticians hate him.
Oh God. But seriously, guys, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. Oh yeah, and the last thing is, since Scott, you're really interested in the waifus, guys, we're almost there to our goal on Adjudicators Academy. If you want based waifus, if you want some better things in the culture, come out. By the way, we just got chapter 2 completed. This is a full image here, if you want to check this out on Indiegogo, of Degenerate Alley, which is chapter 2 in the Adjudicators Academy manga. So check that out over there. The project is almost done. I'm going to be really hyping it this next week and showing you guys a lot of images and stuff that are completed. It's going to be all digital. I'll put out there, but we're almost at our goal. We got 37 people in so far. If we get to 50, we'll be perfectly fine. But come over here and check it out. This is in Korean won, but $15 to get in at the basic level and get 6 chapters, a lot of extras, and good, wholesome fun with characters that are in no way based on internet lawyers. No way.
Yes,
none of them.
I was wondering about that.
None of them are based on internet lawyers at all.
Unbreaded.
No, yeah, that's just a saying that people use.
Which character has big nose? It has a big nose. Which waifu has a big nose?
If the word unbreaded doesn't have my money back.
But anyways, guys, listen, guys, thank you so much. Thank you for joining me. You can hang around for a second afterwards so we can chat. But chat, I'll be back tomorrow with I'm going to be with Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, just talking about things that are going on, talking about politics, talking about pop culture. Honestly, I don't have a lot of topics. We just want to talk. I just want to talk to him, about what he's into, where things are going, and just have a conversation. So that's what I'm going to get into tomorrow with Jeremy. I've been really enjoying his, Cobra Cast. I think it's fantastic.
Did he send you some coffee brand coffee so you can try it while you're talking to him?
No, he did not send me coffee brand coffee. I'm not doing the quartering. This is
I'm sorry.
Yes, no,
other Jeremy.
I think they're friendly.
The quartering is they're friendly.
Yeah, sorry, it's early for me. I apologize.
The quartering is in timeout right now for some of his trans stuff. But like I said, I can disagree with people on issues, right? But I can still say, hey, on the whole, they have good takes. And I like Jeremy the quartering, but he's wrong on some of the recent stuff he's been getting into. But that being said, guys, appreciate y'all. Guys in the chat, thank you so much. Smash the like button on the way out, and I will catch you later.